Hi, Eric. So we've been spending 4 days at US Synthetic talking about the DES journey of improvement, etc. And you've shared quite a lot of things, particularly about this culture pyramid. Okay. So I'd just like to understand that a little bit more so I can share it with our team. So can you help me understand what it's about?
Okay. So first of all, the word culture is used an awful lot just in the continuous improvement world. And it's used with a variety of definitions, okay? And we all talk about how we want to improve culture and drive it, but we don't really understand what we're talking about sometimes when we say culture. And so we have a very specific definition when we say culture here, and it's just repeated behaviors. So we say that your organization is defined by its repeated behaviors. Those repeated behaviors drive your results. And so when you talk about continuous improvement culture, you're saying, I want to change my culture. I want to design it. I want to be very specific about the behaviors that I want in the organization. And so in order to design your own culture, you have to understand the root of it. You have to understand how what levers you want to pull in order to drive culture. And so we use this thing called the culture pyramid to help people understand and what the root of behaviors are. Because in most continuous improvement transformations, people, 9 out of 10 fail. And the reason why they fail is because it didn't become cultural. It didn't become behavioral, okay? And so this helps us understand how we as leaders can drive culture to have sustainable continuous improvement cultures, okay? So normally, the top of this pyramid is called artifacts, okay? Artifacts are the things that if you walked into a factory and nobody was there and you described what you saw, those are the artifacts. You're going to see dirty floors or clean floors. You're going to see organized workflows or non-organized. You're going to see performance boards or not. You're going to see evidence of results, metrics, and not. These are the things that you would see when nobody is here. And most often in the lean world, this is all we look at. Are the presence of tools there? Do we have flow cells? Do we have Kanban? Do we have the tools? And those things in and of themselves have no power, they're not sustainable. In the end, they're useless in and of themselves. And so we have to say, okay, well, if we want artifacts of lean, if we want flow cells, and we want continuous improvement, and we want problem solving, we need to understand how we drive that. The root of artifacts is behaviors, okay? If I act in a certain way every single day, I leave evidence of those actions, okay? So if one example is if I brush my teeth every single day, the artifact of that is I have clean teeth and I have less cavities, okay? So behaviors are really what drive results and drive artifacts, okay? And ultimately, this is what we're trying to do in a continuous improvement world, is we're trying to create repeated behaviors in the organization that are aligned to the customer, they're aligned to principles, and they're driving the organization forward, okay? So then we say, okay, well, so we understand it's about behaviors. So now what is the root of behaviors? If we want to drive behaviors in our organization, we have to understand that. The root of behaviors is belief. I act the way I do because I believe it's the best way to act. So I run my machine this way every single day because I believe I get the best output. Okay? Again, I brush my teeth every day because I believe that it'll keep me from getting cavities. Okay? So belief is the root of behaviors. And if you think about any sustainable behavior you have in your life, it's because there's some underlying belief, and that's why you do it, okay? So when we're trying to create a continuous improvement culture, it's really about creating belief. When we believe in CI principles, we behave in line with them. When we behave in line with them, we see the artifacts, we see the results, we see the presence of tools, we see all that. So again, as a leader, I'm thinking, okay, belief is the root of a continuous improvement culture. So I say, well, how do I create belief? Belief comes through experiences, okay? So I think, all right, back to my teeth example, I had experience as a child where I got a lot of cavities, and it's because I didn't brush my teeth, and that was a horrible experience. And because I had that, I instilled a belief in myself that I gotta do this. I gotta brush my teeth every day. I do it now. Now I'm happy to report that no cavities the last 5 visits. I'm doing great. All right, but these experiences are what drive everything. So when we're trying to create a continuous improvement world, and we want to have we want to have flow, we want to have hijunka, we want to have pull, we want to have stop and fix and problem solving. Ultimately, we have to create experiences for our people so they believe that it's the right way to work and act every single day. And so what we do is we do things like we frame up a problem and why that problem matters to them, and then we teach them different principles and tools, and we say, you know what? let's have an experience together. Let's use this tool and this principle relative to this thing that matters to both me and you, and let's experiment, let's try it out, and we try it out, and ultimately we have an experience where it said it worked or it didn't work, you know? And if we keep iterating on these principles, eventually they work. And people go, I like it, I like flow, I like pull, I like these things, and so my belief is it's good for me, it's good for the business, therefore every day I act in according to that, and therefore we get the artifacts or the expected results associated with it. So to us, this is, as leaders, this is how we understand culture. If we want to drive great results, which is an artifact, it all begins with creating experiences for our people. That was a long answer to a short question.
Thank you. No, very good. So how do we monitor those experiences, or just make sure that it's an active process?
Okay. So the way we make it an active process is, so as a leader, any leader, we have to go and see. So we have to go to a work site or to a team and we observe their condition. And what we're observing is, what are the artifacts here? Are they using tools? Are they, are they using the tools? Are they acting in line with the behaviors? And if they're not, I start to question myself. They must not believe, or their belief is weak. And so therefore, it's a signal to me that I have not given them the experience to believe. And so then as a leader, it's my responsibility to create experiences. And you can do that through lots of different things. You create problem-solving teams, you can do Kaizen events, you can just one-on-one coaching. But at the end of the day, I have a responsibility as a leader through a variety of mechanisms to give people a problem-solving experience. In the end, that's what it is. It's a problem-solving experience because when you solve a problem using a certain methodology or principle, the end result is you have a belief in it and you want to do more of it.
So how do you share that learning? Is it because you're at the Gemba doing it with them, or do you ask them to come back the following day? How does that all work?
So, and again, this can happen in a variety of ways. It can happen in just challenging the work site, asking good questions, and then having some follow-up to see what they came up with. It can be an experience where we're all kind of rolling up our sleeves and doing it together. I think it comes in a variety of forms. And again, it's a judgment based on the leader, and it's situational. Sometimes it's to a point where the only way they're going to get experiences is if you're doing it together, hand in hand, going through the moment. Sometimes their maturity is big enough that you can just leave a bunch of questions, challenge their thinking, and then they will take themselves through an experience because you challenge their thinking. But it depends on the maturity of the individual, but in the beginning, it's often we do it together.
So we're talking about coaching a great deal at the moment. How does this relate to coaching? We're trying to get into a coaching mode. How does this all relate to coaching?
Yeah. So you think about coaching, every organization talks about coaching. We need to coach our people. Coach them on what? Okay. And then if we ask that question, the list is endless. We could do this, we could do that. You know, I mean, we could take this module, or we could read this book. Coaching possibilities are infinite. That's great, but what we really want to do is coach people to the things that matter most. The things that matter most are relative to our artifacts, our results, our worksite conditions, you know, and those are driven from our behaviors, beliefs, and experiences. So really, my coaching is see a worksite condition that is not favorable or an opportunity, and that's a signal to me that I have to coach in that dimension. You know, if we're doing batch processing and and we have a lot of problems associated with that. That says, you know what, I gotta give people experiences or coach them relative to this principle of flow so that ultimately we can change the work site. But the work site tells me what I coach my people on. That ultimately is the mechanism that says people need to learn this. So
are you or your team ever tempted to roll up your sleeves and try and do it for them?
Never.
And how do you avoid that? Or what lessons have you learned that you could share with us so that we're not tempted?
So if you think about it, when you do something for somebody and you get a great result, all you told that person is that you're smart and they're not. And then you can do it again and again and again, and all of a sudden they have no confidence, they don't have the ability, they think that you're the only one that can do it, and you know, ultimately it becomes your role to fix problems and their job is just to do what they're told. So that's a dangerous trap to get in. So what we really want to do is we want to first begin with, you know what, this person's a great, capable individual, they have the potential to do great things, and if I solve the problem for them, I rob them of their learning opportunity. And so first of all, you have to grasp that. Second, you have to say, okay, so now how do I teach this person to see what I see? And you got, in some cases, you do it side by side to solve the problem. But you can't rob people of their learning moments, otherwise they can't become the great people who they really are.
So MPG first visited you, or certainly I first visited you 2 years ago, and ever since then we've been talking about 32,000 Kaizens a year. So an incredible number. How do you maintain the emphasis on all those small improvements?
So again, 32,000 improvements, I mean, it's a lot. Everybody is saying, what can I do to make the business stronger? And so some people are worried about that. I think that sounds like chaos. How can that many people be changing that many things? And so the reality is you just can't say, everybody go do it. You have to create structure, you have to create skill, you have to create guidance for that to happen. And so again, we have methodologies or tools that we align people to elements of the business, things that really matter, like our end purpose of improving lives. We also align people to the customer and what's important to them. We measure our performance relative to those things. And then we ask people, what are you doing to drive, customer value forward? What are you doing to move your ability to improve lives forward? And then they start to measure things, and then they start to do root cause analysis relative to things, and then they start to solve problems. It's natural when you create the framework. And the framework is, why am I here at work? Why do I care? How do I make this business successful? But who's my customer? What do they value? You have to create this framework where people can see what matters, so that we're aligned, and then ask questions. What's your connection? What are you doing? How well are you doing? And in time, people invent their ability, their own systems for solving problems, and they're all aligned to what matters most.
So what level, again, another thing that we debate a lot is what level of evidence is appropriate to back up those Kaizens?
Okay. So if you think what really happens, an operator will have an idea, okay? And it's right now it's just an idea. It's a hypothesis that this might be better, okay? So they're going to test their hypothesis, and they're going to do it. And it's going to convince them, in some form that it's a better way of doing it. It might be in the form of data. It could be just physical observation of the condition. But they're going to convince themselves that it's better. And then it's their responsibility to turn to their team. So, you have a team of 6 individuals, and he has to walk them through that same experience. You see this condition? I did this countermeasure, and it gave me this result. And so he's convincing his peers of that. And if they all say, hey, that sounds good, you do it. So there's no data that's ran up. There's nothing that goes to accounting. It's mostly, did you test your hypothesis, and it allowed you to create better value, and does your peers all think it's a great idea? If so, you just do it. There's no approvals or no permissions, you just do it.
And what about, how do you share across different work centers or departments?
Yeah, so one thing that we've learned is, you get 32,000 Kaizens. There's a lot of power just in the innovation of that. There's even more power when I can take 32,000 Kaizens and multiply it across the organization. There's real leverage when we share. We have, in terms of our sharing systems, the most natural and common sharing system is there's natural excitement or pull around good ideas, okay? So that's going to happen whether you have a system or not. People are going, hey, I heard so-and-so invented this cool thing over here, and it's doing great work for them, and it kind of organically flows. So that happens. But we want to do better than that, right? We want to proactively share. So we do other things like, we do what we call a Yokoten walk. At some frequency, the shop floor leaders get together, and we walk from area to area to area, and they present their best ideas. And it's mostly a recognition moment where we say, way to go, congratulations, that's awesome. But we also see opportunities for greatness, and then we can take it across. That's another mechanism of how we share. And there's other things just in terms of reporting out, and we have a Kaizen fair where people highlight their best Kaizens and organize, show that to the whole company. So there's a lot of mechanisms like that for sharing. But in general, we need to be better at that.
And how have you maintained momentum in some really difficult times?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we've gone through a huge change in our market, okay? Massive swing in our market, and of course with that, we didn't have enough work or demand to support all of our employees, so we went through a series of layoffs. And it was a heartbreaking thing to say goodbye to our friends, but the culture continued throughout it. in other words, we're still investing in Kaizen, we're still investing in training, we're doing all those things because we believe it's the only way to work. We really believe that we invest in people to see and solve problems, so that people will see and solve problems and we'll get better results. So the downturn didn't affect our Kaizen effort in terms of our spirit, our intent to do it. Maybe some of the systems were weakened as we consolidated things, but the heart was still there and it didn't change, and the intent was still there, and our employees are still very, very actively engaged in improvement work.
And you mentioned training. What sort of things do you do to embed training?
Yeah, so there's a lot of forms of training, but kind of the biggest thing that I think right now is when an individual comes into the organization, we're very clear about what their expectations are, okay? And their expectations at a high level. Things like, you're here, we're about improving lives, and so you're going to be responsible for improving the lives of those people around you. And then we say, oh, you know what? And the only way we can do that is have a strong business, okay? And the only way we have a strong business, so you have a responsibility to make decisions that make the business stronger. And then we say, in order to have a strong business, we must take care of our customers and create value for them. So we say, you have a responsibility to create value for your customers, to do it the best possible way you can and improve it. And we kind of go through that logic, okay, of the purpose and the business and our customers, so they're very, very clear on that. And then we take it to the next level, and we say, well, and by the way, this is your work, okay? Your work is to do this set of things, and it's creating value for the customer, making the business stronger, making it so we can make a difference in people's lives. And not only do you have to do this work, but I want you to do this work, and I want you to find flaws in it. I want you to tell me where it doesn't work. I want you to raise your hand and broadcast to the world that it's broken. And then we expect you with your peers to ask why, to learn, and to problem solve that work so that we can improve and move everybody forward.
So how much do you do that in classroom, and how much do you do that on the shop floor?
All that's done on the shop floor. And it's done offline, so they don't do it at the pace of tack time where there's pressures. But everything I just described there is conversations at the equipment while teaching them how to create value for the customer and linking it all the way back to how it makes a difference for each other and improving lives.
And corporate has various demands of us. How much do you worry about productivity? How's the relationship work between improvement and productivity and reporting or whatever?
So I kind of two comments on that. How does all this improvement relate back to productivity? For us, productivity has never been a driver. We've never looked at it as an objective. It just happens. And the reason why it happens is because you improve your systems, eliminating waste, and productivity happens. So it's the end result of changing your system and eliminating waste. However, we understand that there are people that expect productivity gains, okay? In fact, we all, as an employee, I expect it. The reason why I expect it is because it has an impact on my profit sharing. And that's true for every employee. Every employee cares about productivity because in part it comes back to them, okay? But we also realize that it's not just about us, it's about the customer, it's about the investor, and it's about the community. Anybody that has interaction with us, we have a responsibility to make their life better and to give them some value. So we understand our investors, Dover, that productivity is something that the market likes, and it's a great thing to do. We feel ownership for that. We do it, not just because they want it, because we want it. And we feel that ownership, regardless if they ask it to us or not. We know that in general, that's what investors want.
So I know it's not about reporting, but have you any particular advice on the way that it should be characterized?
Yeah, so one thing that we talk about, when we talk about reporting, generally we're thinking about numbers rolling up, okay? And in order for numbers to roll up, I'm a leader who asks questions of, did you get this number? Roll this number up to me. So it's a numbers conversation of give me numbers and the numbers roll up, okay? We don't have those types of conversations. Our conversations are questions. We roll questions down like, let's go on this productivity thing. We as an organization understand that we must deliver the value of productivity both to the shareholder and to each other as employees. That's important. So what I do is we go and ask a question. Said, what is your connection to the value of productivity? Okay, and then we listen to their answer, and they say, well, they'll say, well, here's my connection. How well are you doing it? And then they show us a metric. Where are your opportunities in that metric? And they show us data collection of where their opportunities are. What are you doing to improve it? And now they got down to a PDCA or A3 or some improvement tool of how they are driving productivity. I didn't ask for a number. I ask a question is, what is your connection to this thing that matters most to all of us? How well are you doing? And so that's a different mindset, because what I'm doing is I'm promoting thinking of engaging people and why it matters, and let them own the process or the pathway for creating productivity. The other way is a number that puts pressure on you that can make you do the wrong thing because you want the number to look good. I don't want the number to look good, I want the thinking to look good. And when the thinking looks good, the number will be good. Okay, so that's kind of the way we think about it.
So it's much about people behaviours rather than tools.
It's 100% about people's behaviors and their thinking behind it.
So just in closing then, we've been developing our own DES value tree, or the start of that. So we saw your value tree 2 years ago. So is that pretty much as it was, and is it still sustained as strongly as ever?
So the thinking behind it is sustained as strong as ever. Everybody talks to it, everybody understands it, everyone is trying to understand their connection to it to drive value for all of our stakeholders. Yet it's evolved. There's been some improvements on it recently. You know, we're hearing feedback from our suppliers, or hey, why didn't you include us on that? Aren't we your partner too? We said, absolutely you are. We want to improve your life as well. So we added them into our strategy tree. Another recent change is we were presenting the strategy tree to our customers. And the markets are very cost sensitive right now, and we didn't have any words up there that said anything about cost. And they questioned, why don't you guys have cost up there? And we said, well, we care about profitability for our company, and I know you guys care about profitability too, so that's really a shared value. We all care about profitability and growth, and so we altered it to communicate to the organization that we have a responsibility to help our customers be profitable as well. And so there's little tweaks like that evolve over in time, but the thinking and the spirit behind it continues and actually strengthens as well.
So you questioned us a lot as we were developing our value tree, and you kept asking why over and over again. Why does anybody care was a typical question. Why did you do that so much?
Yeah, so it's funny because when we have these conversations of, you know, the business and what success looks like and why it exists, people's minds get trapped on the business. They say things like, well, we want to be the best in the world, or we want to make lots of money, or, you know, we use things like that. And we always say, well, why do we care if we make a lot of money? Why do we care about the best business in the world? We have to bring it back. Keep asking why until it comes back to an emotional connection. We want to make a lot of money because I want my investors to get a return on their money. I want our employees to have great opportunities for financial, you know, opportunities, both bonus and pay. I want, you know, we all care about, you know, the money, but why? Because it allows me to spend time with my family, to vacation, to do fun things to each other, you know. So we ask why to bring it all the way to emotional connection, because if you can get every employee to have emotional connection, now this business is more than a business. It's a purpose, it's a cause, it's something that you can align to and get excited about.
Which brings us back to the culture pyramid.
That's right.
Okay, Eric, thank you very much, and thanks for all your time this week. It's been great. Thank you.